Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Dynasty by Design podcast. I'm your host, Matty Big Chest, and I'm here today with episode number 6. Man, it feels like so long. I started episode 1, I feel like last week. And, I'm excited to be here today with my guest, JD of the Goat District. How you doing today, JD?
I'm awesome, man. This is a blast. Appreciate you having me on. Talk about, the nice thing about the NFL, there's always some goodness to talk about, but especially this time of year, right? And I appreciate you having me on. We work together kind of behind the scenes. You're one of the talents I like to always talk about on our show, the Goat District, and we appreciate you, man. We appreciate the work you do, for the industry. And like I said, I'm happy to be on with you today, man.
Definitely happy to be working for you guys anytime, man. Go District's a great brand and fun to work for. So we're going to talk about free agency today, and free agency has a lot of implications on dynasty, on your dynasty rosters. You have to be watching free agency closely. You have to have a quick trigger on some of these guys to sell. For example, AJ Dillon, if you had him on your roster, you're probably not looking real good right now with that Aaron Jones signing and free agency. So there's implications like that happen, and we're going to talk about that today. So we're going to talk about free agency first in general. What is free agency? And I'm going to throw it to JD. Can you explain like the process of free agency and the steps that it goes through to get to the actual free agent market?
Yeah, just to simplify it, basically, players will have, or the teams will have opportunity first to tag a player, basically franchise tag them. Normally they're basically paying him for another year is what that is, in simple terms. And then once that's passed, if the team does not take that opportunity, then they'll go out in free agency, and then that's when the action happens. And we're seeing a lot of it right now. It's the NFL is just, it's nonstop right now. Like there's daily, you're getting what, 10 to 12, different signings. And like you said, it affects Dynasty in so many ways. And we'll be talking about that today.
Yeah, man. And there's some really good signings this year, some really good spots that I want to talk about. One of them is Marvin Jones. He landed in Jacksonville. And how do you feel about Marvin Jones landing in Jacksonville, likely paired up with Trevor Lawrence? I think that's a smash spot for a 31-year-old wide receiver who's just continued to produce.
He has. It's I think for him, I think he got 2 years, 9 million,
Hmm.
something like that, guaranteed. So I think it's a good. You want him on a team, that's going to be throwing the ball, and this is a young team. They're going to be bringing in a young quarterback. They've got some weapons there already, but not necessarily. I mean, you talked about before we started with regards to Chenault, but I think the person that might be affected more is actually DJ Shark when you're looking at kind of that downfield action, right? That Marvin Jones offers. Having said that, I mean, he's probably going there as the number 3, unless they add again in the draft. And I don't see him being shy about adding weapons for this young quarterback in this offense. We'll talk about the running back position later, but I think it's a good spot for a guy like Marvin Jones. If you own him in Dynasty, you're happy with him going to Jacksonville.
Yeah, so how do you value these free agent landing spots like Marvin Jones to Jacksonville, or let's say like a stud goes to a really good landing spot, like a running back goes to the Kansas City Chiefs, if they didn't have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, what would we be doing with these valuing of the landing spots?
So because this time of year is kind of the off-field season, as a lot of us in Dynasty like that, everyone's got their own version of it, but it's kind of the off season that's not really the off season. But my point is, you're not necessarily setting up your rosters in Dynasty right now to go to have a starting lineup, right? So you're trying to gain as much value as possible. And to me, that's kind of keeping my ear to the ground, following Twitter, watching trades that are going on out there, who's being hyped up, who's not being hyped up. You talked about, being quick on trigger, right? If you had Dylan and you didn't move him, now you have, I'm guilty. I have a trade we'll talk about later that I'm actually embarrassed, and I forgot about it until you sent me that questionnaire, and I went to look it up, and I'm like, oh man, I forgot I made this move. And right now I look like a fool, and that's fine. I'm one of those guys where I'm ballsy with my moves. I'm very aggressive, but I win leagues, man. Like I'm here to win. And you know what? You make a couple moves that don't pay off, you'll make a couple more that will pay off, twice as much, and it all balances out. If you're not just paying attention to results and you're following the process.
Definitely, man. It's all about making the most amount of moves because that the more moves you make, the more roster turnover you have, the more chance there is to gain talent based on draft picks as well. So that's a big thing with free agency is it helps also with the draft needs. It helps evaluate teams' draft needs, and when you go into watching the NFL draft, it really helps to see, oh, they signed a wide receiver, so they don't need a wide receiver anymore. So look for maybe like this kind of player to go there. So it helps with your landing spots at with NFL rookies as well, based on free agency results. So there are teams that will double up on players in free agency in the NFL draft, which is kind of rare, but my Lions do it quite a bit with tight end Jesse James and TJ Hawkinson in the same year, for example. I'll get that one. But free agency is a great time. It's F5 season, as I call it. That's where you just press F5 to refresh on your keyboard over and over again. But let's talk about some moves that you have made in the past during free agency that have paid off for you in your dynasty leagues to help you win.
Yeah, like I said, I don't have to go too far back. I looked this up. I've got like way too many leagues to go through all of them, but I pulled a couple of them up. So this is actually a league, my 500 FFPC, one of my oldest dynasty leagues, one of my first ones on the FFPC. I play a lot on the FFPC, best ball, dyno, and this is my 500. I won it last year. What was my move? I did it kind of coming out of the gate. And so I made this move on February 15th. And this was me being bullish on AJ Dillon, as we're talking about tonight. And look, I moved the wide receiver one, man. Devontae Adams took me to the promised land. I've had him on this roster for many years. Is that your sound effect?
No, it's yours.
Oh, was it really? Okay. Oh, you know what? Just in case
You hit a key.
No, you know why? You're being directed. All right. So if anyone's wondering, I'm on NBA Top Shot and I just got a pack. Yes, guy. All right.
There we go. Let's talk about Top Shot for a second. What is Top Shot? I don't have Top Shot.
So NBA Top Shot is actually blockchain. So if anyone's into like crypto and blockchain, this is the first time that blockchain is presented in a digestible way, I guess you could say, for mainstream public. And that's why it's such a big deal, because it's the other big deal is that it's partnered and backed by the NBA and the NBA Players Association. So that is, kind of gives it the credibility. There's a lot of money invested in this. Think of it like digital trading cards, but instead of a fixed moment, you're on a card, you're getting an actual moment in the NBA. So like I own LeBron James no look 3-pointer where he takes a shot from the corner, 3-point shot, turns to his team, everybody's cheering, sinks it, runs away. And I bought that literally for my daughter. I'm going to sit on it for decades because I think it's a classic moment. It's LeBron. It's one of the best moments. Sorry, just clicking the purchase button here. But no, you know what? It's one of those things, like there's different ways to approach it. There's collectors, there's investors, and there's guys that just really like basketball and are just having fun. But if you are curious about crypto or blockchain, this is a way to kind of get into it and then start learning about it.
Yeah, man. So I saw that everyone was saying like Top Shots is the next investment thing when it first came out, and that's really funny because it is a cryptocurrency basically. You're basically paying for cards and you can sell them for actual value. So that's pretty cool. But going back to free agency, you talked about some moves that you made during the offseason that paid off. But let's talk about some of these effects that free agency has on some of these players that aren't actually free agents. For example, AJ Dillon, like we just talked about, he's not a free agent. He was a rookie, but his value went down because they signed Aaron Jones. There's players like that. So what happens when these players get thrust into new situations? What happens to their values?
Well, I think it's important to talk about their values, but I think it's also important to talk about how people react to these moves. And that's where I think the opportunity is. That's what we talk about on our show on the GOAT District, is where those opportunities are. And you talk about AJ Dillon. I mean, I'm going to go out and offer it like offers, I guess, for AJ Dillon all over the place right now, because you know that there are paper hands out there, as they call them in the crypto world, that are just going to see that price dropping, and they're going to want to sell before it bottoms out. And I don't see it that way. He's a young running back. He's in a position that turns over very quickly. Things change very quickly at that position. Am I happy they re-signed Aaron Jones? I would be if I had done what I wanted, and that's hedge my bet as an AJ Dillon owner and gone out there and gotten some Aaron Jones when his value was down prior to this. So if I'm buying or buying Aaron Jones, I missed my chance. I'm probably not going to go after him just because his value's, probably going to be at his ceiling. Whereas AJ Dillon now, there's that uncertainty. There's, now people see it in a negative way, but you got to think like Jamal Williams is gone. He's going to be the number 2 in a really good offense. And a lot of people are talking about, if you look at the dynamic between the 2 running backs, Aaron Jones and Dillon, Dillon might take kind of that Derrick Henry type of role. He fits kind of that mold. And then Aaron Jones might, he's kind of like an underrated ball catcher, right? And those two can complement each other in this offense. It's who knows what they do in the draft, but it's not like they're giving Aaron Rodgers like a million weapons. You hope a guy like Kenny G or someone like that ends up there. But right now, those two might be able to coexist in this offense. And either way, there's injury possibilities. I just think that you're basically looking at all these scenarios that we're talking about, and it's like the stock market. It's like these moments that we're talking about on NBA, in the NBA Top Shots. You're looking at the perception and the values go up and down, and where can you take the opportunity? Basically, where do you value them versus where other people value them, right? And that's where all these players that we're talking about today, you need to look at how you can maximize on what's happening in the NFL, because like you talked about, it happens quick. People react quickly. If you miss the boat, you're going to end up with a roster full of guys that you're not able to move. You got to know when to move guys. Right now, don't move Kenny G. He's not valued right now. People are down on Kenny G. When he does go to a team like Green Bay or somewhere where there's a quarterback that's chucking the ball, his value is going to go up, and you'll be able to sell him at that time. You just got to learn to kind of play the market.
Definitely. I like that Kenny Galladay to a Green Bay signing. Big fan of Kenny Galladay, as you can see in the background on YouTube. I do have a Kenny Galladay signed jersey. So I've been invested in where he goes. So what are some Twitter accounts that you should be following and having Twitter notifications on for during free agency? Because I have only one, and it's for Rap Sheet. Ian Rappaport.
For where's my? Oh, you know why? Because I have it on this one. For my Twitter notifications, you want to know the truth? Yeah. You want to know what I do? I go in the GOAT leagues, and I go in I got 3 leagues that I'm in where the DMs, obviously our boy Memphis. Shout out to Randy, Dynasty Warzone. He's in the GOAT leagues. The GOAT league DM, I'm in, there it is. You got the sweet Viridian Global gear. I got mine on. Shout out to Will. Yeah, I saw him.
Big shout out. You got to go to I have to give him a little shout out here. You have to go to Viridian Global, get some of the best apparel in fantasy football. Use code Maddie at checkout to save 10% off. So that's our little plug for Will. Love his brand, love everything he does for fantasy football. But yeah.
Check out in the GOAT District section, check out Maddie's design for the league champion. So if you won your leagues, we have a long sleeve black t-shirt. Maddie designed all the graphics on it. It looks awesome.
It's a hot t-shirt, I'll tell you that. Once I get a job and have some money in accounting, I'll have to buy it. But I don't have much merch money right now. But yeah, let's go back to a little bit.
I'm gonna speak to Will about sending you one. Don't worry about it. We got you covered.
Dope. But yeah, I love working with you guys and love Viridian Global. Everything they do for us has been awesome. They've just been a great asset to the fantasy community. 100%. So, what is your favorite time to sell free agents during the off season?
So as you could see by my bullish moves, I try to get ahead of the game where I think there's a possibility, but I honestly prefer to kind of wait for the hype. Like wherever I see that hype coming, that's kind of where I'm going the other way. Like I'll give you an example. I was thinking about this just looking at your the show sheet topics that you gave me, and think about New England, right now, a lot of people are dodging New England already. You already hear it. Any podcast you turn on, they're like, they got two of the best tight ends. They're just killing fantasy right now. They brought Cam back. They've got Aguilar signed there. He's, whatever Aguilar is. He's another guy that pisses me off that I drafted.
Kendrick Bourne too.
Way too early. Kendrick Bourne, like another guy who gave you one good week because you drafted him in the 1900th round, and now you think he's like wide receiver 3 material. Get out of here with those receivers.
I saw a take today on Twitter that said Bill Belichick signed these mid-tier receivers to big deals just to piss off other GMs because it's going to drive the value up on the big names. That's what I saw. I thought it was funny because it's Bill Belichick being Bill Belichick. But Nelson Aguilar.
That wouldn't surprise.
Yeah. Nelson Aguilar's contract was way too large for me.
I personally, I think this is just angry Bill. This is Bill. He's so sick of hearing about Brady right now and how he's nothing without Brady. And Brady went and did it on his own, like right when he left. So he's like, oh, yeah. All right. So when were we really good? We had Hernandez, we had Gronk. All right. Who are the best tight ends on the market? Bam. We got
had Tom Brady.
Okay. But see, that's the thing, right? People criticize him for the Cam thing, but who are they going to bring in that's going to give him something this year?
Nothing. They
right?
had to have tanked last year.
Like that.
They had to have tanked last year, and they didn't. Because this quarterback class was so good. I don't understand. I think Bill's ego got in the way of. I have Jarrett Stidham. I have Cam Newton. I can produce a playoff win.
Agreed.
But that's not the way to look at it. You should be looking at it as, is this my window to win a championship? Because your roster is not made to win playoffs. Your roster is made to win Super Bowls. If that makes sense.
Well, they should be. Look, they should be better. They're going to play New England football next year, right? You're not going to expect like an.
You're going to see a lot of screens.
Exactly, and they're going to use those tight ends. The running game should be pretty legit. And like I said, I'm not saying go and invest in New England, but I'm saying that people are going to be dodging them. And one name I like to use often, I like to, you got to learn from your mistakes, but learn from your successes, man. And we talk about free agency. Stephon Diggs last offseason went to Buffalo. People were hating on that move. Like people were just wanting him off their rosters. And I had a few shares just because I just like him as a receiver, even though he was in, kind of capped in Minnesota. And look, man, he won. Him and Adams won me that 500, obviously with other pieces, but he was a big part. He was in my lineup every week. Anyone who had Diggs knows how good he was last year. So just all I'm saying is don't jump the gun on a lot of the things there. Watch what's happening and try to zig. I hate, like people say it's cliche, whatever, but it's true, man. Just zig when people zag. And more times than none, you're going to find serious value that way. I think we just lost Maddie. Either we lost Maddie or you guys lost me. I don't know which one that is. I'm seeing graphics.
Yeah, I am back. What's up, guys? Had to take a call really quickly. It was a little misunderstanding, but it was great being able to talk free agency with you, JD. Unfortunately, this episode has to come to a close a little early. I do have to go. But yeah, man, free agency is wild, and I love it. I live for free agency. I'm always on Twitter during free agency, always updating my phone. But yeah, I love watching these player values, and like we still have these big fish that still have to sign, so it's gonna be fun to watch. Obviously tomorrow, if you're watching, they might have signed already, but we're updating tonight, and we're pressing F5 to see where people go and where we can value them in Dynasty, because that's where it all comes down to for us in the end is Dynasty player values. But yeah, man, let us know where we can find you again, JD.
Yeah, Maddie, again, thanks for having me on, man. Check me out at Go District on Twitter, on any podcast platform, on YouTube. We have a channel. We're dropping all kinds of best ball, dynasty, high stakes, commissioner evaluation. We've got all kinds of stuff, man. We're dropping top shot material, MMA. We talk about literally anything on there. Come check us out. Check out Maddie. He's the beast out there designing the art. And thanks again, brother. Go take care of your stuff, man.
Thanks, man. This is the end of episode 6. of Dynasty by Design. Hope you guys enjoyed.